In February 2022, a conflict erupted that would come to reshape modern geopolitics and become one of the deadliest wars of the 21st century, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. As of today, over 70,000 Russian soldiers have reportedly lost their lives in the conflict, with many more injured or missing. But how did the toll climb so high? What factors have contributed to this staggering number of casualties? In today's video, we'll dive deep into the reasons behind this massive death toll and the ongoing devastation in the region. To fully understand why the death toll has reached such a grim milestone, it's important to grasp the scale of the conflict. Russia's invasion of Ukraine marked the first large-scale, conventional land war in Europe since World War II. Tens of thousands of soldiers, supported by tanks, artillery, aircraft, and naval forces, were deployed to the front lines on both sides. The war, however, did not play out as many military analysts predicted. Russia's original military objectives appeared focused on a swift victory, with the hope of capturing Kyiv within weeks. But as we now know, that outcome didn't materialize. What was expected to be a short conflict turned into a protracted, grinding war of attrition. Both sides have suffered immensely, but Russia's military forces have borne a particularly heavy burden. From the early stages of the invasion to the current front lines in the Donbas region, each phase of the war has seen brutal fighting. But why have Russian casualties been so particularly high? One of the first factors to consider is the initial miscalculations by Russian leadership. At the onset of the war, many experts believed that the Russian military underestimated Ukraine's ability to defend itself. They also overestimated the capabilities of their own forces. Russia's military is vastly larger than Ukraine's. It was believed that Ukraine, with a smaller and less equipped military, would quickly crumble under the might of the Russian onslaught. However, Ukraine's resistance was far more effective than anticipated. Ukrainian forces, bolstered by advanced Western weapon systems and intelligence, were able to hold key positions and even push Russian forces back in many areas. The failure of the Russian military to achieve its objectives quickly led to prolonged battles in major cities like Kyiv, Kharkiv, and Mariupol. Urban warfare, particularly in cities, is known to be some of the most deadly and unpredictable combat scenarios. Russian troops were ill-prepared for the kind of street-to-street fighting they encountered, and their armored columns became prime targets for Ukrainian ambushes and precision strikes. Another significant reason for the high casualty numbers has been Russia's logistical failures. Supply chains in modern warfare are crucial, and Russia struggled to maintain them throughout the early phases of the invasion. Russian troops found themselves running out of food, fuel, and ammunition in the field. This left many units vulnerable to Ukrainian counterattacks, as they were unable to effectively maneuver or defend their positions. Reports of soldiers abandoning equipment or retreating in disarray were not uncommon, further demoralizing Russian forces. Morale plays a critical role in any military campaign, and low morale has been a major issue within the Russian ranks. Reports of conscripts being forced into combat, desertions, and widespread dissatisfaction among troops indicate that many soldiers were unprepared for the brutal reality of the war. This lack of preparation and morale contributed directly to Russia's heavy losses, as poorly motivated and poorly supplied troops are less effective on the battlefield. One cannot discuss Russia's high casualty numbers without acknowledging the formidable Ukrainian resistance, bolstered by significant Western military support. Since the beginning of the conflict, Ukraine has received substantial military aid from Western nations. Advanced systems like the American HIMARS rocket systems, Javelin anti-tank missiles, and the UK's NLAW weaponry have been game changers on the battlefield. These weapons allowed Ukrainian forces to strike with precision, destroying Russian tanks, aircraft, and armored personnel carriers at a rapid pace. Western intelligence sharing has also played a crucial role. Ukraine's ability to conduct coordinated and strategic counterattacks, particularly in the Kharkiv and Kherson regions, led to significant Russian casualties and territorial losses. Another critical factor in Russia's high death toll is the way its military has conducted the war. Critics have pointed out a lack of clear strategic leadership and coordination between Russian forces. Russian tactics have often been described as outdated and inefficient. There have been numerous reports of top-down command structures that fail to adapt to changing conditions on the battlefield. This has led to Russian forces being caught off guard by more flexible and decentralized Ukrainian tactics. Furthermore, the use of massed artillery and frontal assaults, reminiscent of World War II-era tactics, has resulted in staggering losses. Waves of poorly trained conscripts have been sent into battle, many of whom lack the necessary equipment or training to survive in modern warfare. This has resulted in high numbers of casualties, especially when facing the technologically superior Ukrainian forces. Russia's manpower and resource challenges have been compounded by international sanctions and recruitment issues. Since the start of the invasion, Russia has faced severe international sanctions that have crippled its economy and its ability to sustain prolonged military operations. This has further affected morale and the supply of critical equipment for its troops. To counter the loss of professional soldiers, Russia has increasingly relied on conscripts, as well as private military contractors like the Wagner Group. While mercenaries have played a role in boosting Russian forces, they are often used in high-risk operations that result in significant casualties. Their involvement in key battles, including those in the Donbas region, has added to the overall death toll. Russia has also faced challenges related to the terrain and the seasons. The infamous Ukrainian winter, coupled with difficult terrain, has created additional obstacles for Russian forces. As winter sets in, both sides have had to contend with freezing temperatures and muddy, impassable roads. However, Russian troops, particularly those lacking proper winter gear and supplies, have suffered severely. The difficulty in navigating Ukraine's vast, open plains and dense forests has made troop movements more challenging, leaving Russian forces exposed to ambushes and artillery strikes. So, what does this all mean? The Russian death toll in Ukraine has surpassed 70,000, a number that continues to rise as the war drags on. This massive loss of life is the result of many factors: strategic miscalculations, logistical failures, fierce Ukrainian resistance, outdated military tactics, and the reliance on poorly trained conscripts. For Russia, the human cost of this war is profound. Each number represents not just a soldier lost, but families devastated, futures cut short, and communities left grieving. The scale of the conflict has shocked the world, and with no clear end in sight, the question remains: how much more can either side endure? Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis of global events. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, stay informed and stay safe.